Hey, it's me. So, my favorite book, Fierce Conversations, my favorite line in there is that every conversation is first with ourselves, and sometimes it involves other people. And I just had this really interesting aha that the way that we mostly talk to people, it's really the way that we're talking to ourselves. So, other people are just getting kind of that feeling that we have about ourselves. So, if we are being really harsh on other people, it's probably because we feel that about ourselves, and that's our way of like finding it out. And if we're fairly joyful and kind to other people, then obviously it's because we have a lot of self-love. And so that does take practice. And even with our dogs, like I'm realizing that sometimes I would snap at Sophie before I'd be kind. And then of course I'd feel really yucky about it. And I've learned that like she doesn't know anyway. I'm mostly just mad at myself because she obviously didn't get to help make any choices. She's a dog. Um, she just does instinctually. So if there's only one of us out of this partnership that's ever going to actually be able to curb her behavior, and that's me. So anyway, when I'm snapping with her, it's really because I'm mad at myself and I'm taking it out on her. And wow, that's a powerful thing. So yeah, that's what we're doing. So we can notice our level of enlightenment and self-love that we're allowing to flow through by how we are treating other people predominantly. So if we're feeling obligated or guilty or any of that stuff for doing stuff for those reasons, then there's probably some guilt and shame issues that we need to release. And if we are kind of, sometimes we lose our temper at people and like where it's triggering, and it's usually something that we didn't take care of, especially before, then maybe there's some anger within, some inner child feelings that need to come up because we didn't feel that we were okay to express anger. And we learned that expressing anger equals danger and pain. And that doesn't have to be the case. That is one way. And that's a very common way that anger is expressed a lot. And also there are other amazing ways. There's music and there's dance and there's journaling and there's crying. There's thoughtful reflection. I mean, honestly, if you want me to clean something, make me angry. I'm the best cleaner. Like I can get my crap done if I'm angry. It's a very valuable, really valuable feeling, and it can be leveraged well. It just isn't usually. So that's a really big one. That one takes some practice to get to, and it takes a lot of self-trust. So this goes back to like, we have to trust ourselves, right? So that's that same thing. If you don't trust other people, you feel like people are coming to be shysty with you, then it's usually because there's some lack of trust in there with yourself. And I don't mean by lack of trust that we necessarily lie to others, although that certainly expresses a lot. Our world is going through that. But a lot of it is the lies that we do to ourselves. And it's usually pretending that we like something to keep someone else happy and going along with it. And we think that it's just fine. And sometimes it goes back to us having chosen someone else and their thing because we thought it was easier. We thought it was polite. We wanted them to like us, whatever reason that we chose. Some of them are valid. Maybe all of them are valid. Just the same, we did choose someone else's dream over our own, and we do this, and that's what our life is kind of adding up to. And that does have some resentment and some frustration, and I had a lot of resentment. Boy, I had all these feelings, by the way. So it's been fun to like discover them and leverage their power in a different way, right? Everything has a dark and a light. But boy, I was a resentful mama. Like I wore my cloak of martyrdom and self-sacrifice, and I thought I would get some award for always like enduring and being the most stoic and taking the hardest, most challenging route. And then I'd be very resentful from everybody I would tell them, oh yeah, I'm happy to do this. And then I would have resentment inside, and I wasn't aware of it at the time. So I wasn't consciously doing that by any means. However, there's a big part of my life where I can see that. And what would happen is I would be so compliant and I would look like I liked it because it made me happy to make someone happy. And so I liked that. I didn't like, I liked the happiness that it gave someone that they shared with me when I was selfless. And so that is what I really loved. I loved when people were kind and appreciative and gave me that kind of love. And so for me, I made a choice to sacrifice what I wanted, whether it's little things, big things, but sometimes it's even been comfort, safety, my own peace of mind. And that does make resentment. And until I was able to have the courage and take the time and space to go back and like find every little grain of sand in there, that's how I see us. It's kind of like, we're these beautiful crystals and we're clear water, right? However, all of that stuff is like ball bearings a little bit. And right now, as our magnetics are literally changing on our planet, that's why I think of it that way, is some of those ball bearings are getting pulled out. So the bigger they are, the more painful it is for people, the lighter ones. And if we allow it, and if we can kind of see it as making changes, and if we can be conscious, I mean, you don't have to change if you don't want to, but there's a lot of people in pain right now. So if you'd like to start going in toward the direction of healing, it is going to take a pivot in some direction. It is going to take you to find out, first of all, what the problem is, and you're going to have to face some things that you chose not to before. And just like every spiral, it gets wider the farther out we go. So we have to kind of walk it back to get back to our inside, our little inner core, so that we can start spiraling in the other direction and literally begin to build that joy and start building the life that we really want. That, to be honest, when we were being selfless, we never gave anyone else the gift of having the opportunity to discover what we have inside. And for lots of us, we would imagine a world that's so much more magical than the one that we are living in currently. We would make choices that would bring more equality and kindness and forgiveness and peace for everybody. Because of course we all want that. We'd all want better access to food and health and like all of these things. We'd all be dancing and playing and singing more. And when we are mostly doing things from obligation or for approval, or especially the way that our society markets for us, that, happiness comes in such a thin sliver. You have to look a certain way, dress a certain way, make a certain amount of money. Like that's what our world tells us. It's not true, by the way, in my opinion, or in my experience, actually. And a lot of times it's quite the opposite, because freedom is what makes people happy. And so the more tangled up we are, anyway, I won't get into all of that. But obviously we do live in a society where happiness is kind of like a little bit defined. And we are all living in what that definition is, and we're all agreeing to that. And what if we all started making those choices of saying, you know what, finding a way to deliver things nicely, right? When we're telling our truths, it does take some practice to wield that sword of truth and to not hurt anyone. And that takes practice. So start small. And what if we started making tiny, tiny changes that we knew were important and that were choosing us over the myriad of excuses that we have just because it's new? And we started today, and we put one grain of sand and then the next. And again, and for seeing it as a spiral going back to yourself. Like, I know this sounds funny, but now I love it. I love when stuff comes up. They always come in threes. I had 3 deals that pretty much exploded, or at least were majorly delayed in one day this week. So I knew that something good was going to come, because when challenges come that big, it's usually that there's something that I need to take some time and get into my emotions, because it literally triggers my emotions so that I will find what needs to be found. And it's kind of magical and fun. And I know this sounds kind of crazy, but for those of you that know me, you've watched it happen, and you've watched me, who was probably one of the most cynical people that ever was and needed everything to be proven like 3 times. And I will do research from every angle, and I will collect data from every source point, because I have a hard time believing any one thing. I believe that there's always an agenda. Anytime someone, anyone, a written publication, right? It originally came from people that had agenda. So politicians and the priests and the media. Oh, yay. Those are super well respected. Those guys have never had an agenda. Honestly, they're the 3 most controlling things at all, which means that every original, speech usually had some agenda. Back in the day when they were doing hieroglyphs, there's a lot of freaking work to do all of that kind of stuff. They weren't doing it unless there was a message that they wanted to convey, right? They wanted their story to actually, history thing, right? They wanted their story to be the one that was told. And so here we are now, and I've got a camera in my hand. And now we all have this opportunity, because we all have cameras in our hands, which is cool, right? What they meant for our harm, we can use to our good. Is we can all start sharing like what kind of world we would envision and what kind of things we could do. We could all start making changes, and we don't want to tell everybody, but we can, I don't know if you guys watched my, for Lent, I didn't know what to do and I wanted to do something. And my goal is to walk in Jesus's shoes. So not to do what the books say that he did, but to do what I believe that if I were him, my life would be, and make the decisions that I believe that he would make, right? The ones that are from love. And we all have the opportunity to do that. So that's my mission. And so this year I decided to participate in Lent and do something for 40 days, representing his 40 days in the desert. And I didn't know what I was doing. There was no consciousness whatsoever. It just was a whim that I chose to do that. And what's really neat is in those 40 days of watching myself and having this communication is that I understood more about myself. Stuff was coming up and purging, which it looked like it was on the internet, but really it was important for me to see. It was important for me to look at myself as I do right now, and to be able to develop this relationship by having a message to say. And those messages, just like I started, I believe that I was saying it because I was helping and inspiring. For those of you that know, like I've always said for the last several years since COVID, that I want to be the most inspiring agent in the world. And I know maybe that's my ego talking, but that's kind of things that motivate me. And so that's, the messages that came out. And what's crazy is that it inspired me and I've changed my life. And so it's not quite a year that it started in Lent. And I have never felt this calm, this much peace, this much joy and happiness. The way that people greet me is so much better. I don't lie, and I've never really been a liar to other people, except for those white lies, right? Those ones that will say it because I don't want to hurt someone's feeling. We say what they expect us to say. Our parents are like, you better tell me the truth. But what they said with their words is, you better tell me with the truth. But with their eyes, what they said is, you better tell me what I want to hear, right? And you better make sure that you're confirming what I'm expecting to hear from you, is usually what our parents meant. And we have lived a life, love our parents, right? And society where sometimes it isn't safe if we don't tell people what they want to hear. It's very safe, whether it's physically, emotionally, mentally. It's not always safe in this world. And so it takes a lot of courage. And so that's why we have to start small. However, here we are. We all have cameras in our hand. What if we're all inspired by that, of just 40 days of having a conversation with yourself, whether you post it on social media or not? Pretend like you're going to post it on social media and find a theme that you're passionate about. Because I promise you that if you take 40 days in a row of thinking that you're teaching people or sharing with people like who you are in a way that will make them better, by the end of that 40 days of you watching those videos, you will have made yourself better. You will know yourself in a way that you could not possibly have before, because you will have given yourself the time and attention and care that we are so used to giving to someone else. That attention of wanting the best for them and being willing to do that, because we don't always have the permission to do it for ourselves. So I'm ending this video with, you have permission to do it for yourself. I believe that with every ounce of my core, because the more I've cared for myself and focused on myself, it has benefited everyone around me. And I could not be more grateful, because that love is so reflected back that I've never, ever, ever could have imagined this level of unconditional love that I feel from the people in my life. That are coming to me in the way that is best for them, because I let them. If they don't want to do something with me that I want to do, I'm totally okay with that, because I'm still okay to do that by myself. And they're able to share their time with me doing something that they love. So I get to experience something new, and I get to get them at their best. And isn't that a gift when people share themselves at their very best with you? Like if we all spend our time with others when we're at our best, well, it's amazing, right? So anyway, this ended up being longer and way different than I expected, but this is kind of how it goes. So this is what happens when you really open your mind and your heart and let your inner self speak to you. It's kind of weird and wonderful, and I don't know if anyone else is going to get it, but I'm posting this anyway. So if you have made it to 14 minutes and 31, please give me like a thumbs up so I know, because I don't know if anyone else will, but I certainly enjoyed it. Have a great day, everyone. Bye.